So welcome back to another episode of Love and Future podcast. This is the host, Zhu Han. For those of you who just tune in, Love and Future is a startup NGO by a group of Teachers College and Columbia University students. We focus on sustainable development and youth empowerment. So joining us today is Pedro José Cabrera Haché. He is a sustainable enthusiast, a youth leader, and a fellow Columbia student. So Pedro, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and it's been a pleasure to be with this Love and Future NGO and help them out in any way I can and see any synergies that we can make together.
Great. Thank you so much. So Pedro, let's start with your academic, professional, and personal background. So who are you, where are you from, and what do you do?
Yeah, well, I was born and raised in the Dominican Republic. I studied all my high school career there, and then I went to college in Bentley University in Boston, where I studied economics and finance. And then I got interested in the sustainability field around, say, junior year in my college career. That was around almost 10 years now. And so my minor is in global sustainability. And then since there, since I graduated from college, I went back home to work in the company in Cilpen. I worked there for 7 years with all the waste management and the recycling industry. And then I decided I needed some more studies. But during my time in the Dominican Republic, I also studied some courses in waste management. I went to Japan for some time. I did some stuff in the United States as well. But I was still feeling a little bit something. I was still needing something else. So that's why I came here to Columbia to pursue my master's in sustainability management. And here I am.
Yeah, thank you so much. Look, you have like a rich background in years of experiences. And you mentioned Cilpen Global is one of maybe your most biggest project. So what motivated you to establish this organization? Why is waste management so important to you?
Yeah, well, in the Dominican Republic and like a lot of developing countries, some obviously developed countries as well, waste is a huge problem, right? And we are a very touristy and agricultural prone country. So just seeing the difference when I went from high school to college, from Dominican Republic to the United States, seeing the difference in how they handle waste was really shocking to me. Obviously, my school was an American school, so we got taught that in high school. But being a young person in high school, I didn't pay much attention to it. And when I came to college, I was like, well, this is different. Like, it actually makes sense. And there's this fun phrase called that says, "One man's trash is another man's treasure," right? And I thought that was really interesting. And I wanted to find that intersection between economics or a sustainable business or a profitable business and sustainability. And I think waste was what captured my attention, right?
Yeah, thank you. And then you draw like your inspiration from your lived experiences, your observations. And again, you traveled across the world to pursue knowledge and to gain so many insights on this topic. So how did you contextualize this many experiences from Japan, from the United States to the local context in the DR?
Yeah, well, since I lived most of my life there, I understood a very strong, I had a very detailed things that happened with the waste. So I saw how can I take from all my experiences the best from them, right? And leapfrog, let's say, the not so good technologies. And the Dominican Republic has its own specific issues with waste. We're highly organic. We don't separate at home. There's poor education. We have construction waste mixed. So there's all these different characteristics of waste that have to be taken into consideration. And I think that was part of my success. We started the project with an idea of maybe just focusing on recyclable materials. But then as the project progressed, we saw a lot of different opportunities in the waste management sector because there was nothing being done. So it actually is a really fun story, and just based on business development wise, because obviously we weren't always a good business. We had our ups and downs, and every time that we had our down, just around the corner, there was like this big contract because of the fact that we did things right. And I think that's also a good phrase or a good things a good advice to give to people is that even though life would push you down and give you trouble. Like try to do things right, because if you do things right, opportunities will come.
Yeah.
And if you're prepared and if you're with the right mindset, then you'll be able to capture those opportunities. Right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, opportunity. So you talk about opportunity and then you seize it. So could you share like a project that you did seize that opportunity, make something that you are so proud of? Like, what was your biggest, most proud of project as Cilpen Global? How was the impact?
Oh, that's a complicated question. There's been many cool projects that we've done, and I could tell some more later. But I think a very interesting one was probably 5 years ago, where we were working with the hospital waste. So the infectious waste in hospitals in the Dominican Republic, the hospital waste system is really lacking. Like hospitals throw out their waste mixed with the regular trash, which is completely inefficient, and it's dangerous, right? It's hazardous. So we did this tour to provide services to the big hospitals in Santiago, where we're from, and most of the hospitals were completely like, no, we're not going to do it. And we're like, why? Well, and they're like, well, it cost me too much. And I think that it's a pretty cool story, because we went through like 8 different hospitals, and 7 of them said no. Like the first 7 were like, no, we can't, no, we can't, no, we can't. Until we got to this 8th one, and they're like, that seems like an interesting idea. So another advice is to pursue your dreams, right? Pursue your idea, and if you think your idea is right, try obviously to have a cushion just in case, but you'll get no for an answer. Like it's normal to get no for an answer, right? And just keep pushing until you get that yes, right? And that was and we were able to sign with that hospital, which was one of the biggest ones, and then the rest came. The rest followed suit. So at the same time, we got all those no's until we got this yes from this big hospital, and now all the other ones are aligned as well. So it's pretty cool.
Thank you so much. This is actually a very inspirational story, because you faced so many rejections, but you didn't give up. You kept on going, and once you scored that one success, it opened up doors for new chances and new possibilities. So as a young person, you've definitely done a lot for your country and for, I think, people from across the world in terms of waste management and climate change. And last week I was like tuning in the EcoSoc Youth Forum, and many of the delegates talked about young people's important roles in SDG. And as we are pushing towards, that goal, is actually we are racing towards it. What do you think are the roles? What do you think that young people can contribute to this sustainable development process?
Yeah, well, youth is very important, and I think that's one of the pillars also in my company in Cilpen. We always try to motivate youth, and we hire a lot of younger people, because I think obviously in this new information age, and the fact that we as youth can easily find information in our cell phones or in the internet helps continue this project, right? Because waste management, and sustainability is a fairly recent subject, right? And as more and more people get involved in the sustainability sector, more information is out there, and more solutions are out there. So that's why I've always tried to bring people over, to young people over. Now, you were there in my last speech. I presented to Colombia an internship program to try and bring some Colombia students back to the Dominican Republic. But I also do that locally. I have a lot of alliances with different universities to promote, let's say, studies, promote innovation, and we want to keep expanding that. So, yeah, if you want, give all my contacts. I'm open. I feel that startups will play a very important role in the transition, in the green transition that we need. And young people are the ones that are driving that change, right? And we have to help them and help each other out to promote that.
A few keywords is definitely, one is cooperation. You talk about young people working together with each other, and then you talk about innovation, because we have so much information and we have so many tools. Why don't we just use that, and why don't we leverage these, let's say social media or technologies for better changes, right? So we talk about the SDG talent gap, right? Between now and the goal in 2030, there's a huge gap that we need to fill. So what are exactly the skills? Maybe you can name 2 to 3 key skills that young people should have to bridge this gap.
Well, rather than a skill, I think and part of my experience as an entrepreneur is finding your road, right? It's finding your niche, because if you find your niche, then you can specialize and find a gap between, or a place that you could grow. And as you grow there, you'll start finding new roads. But you first have to target and focus on one thing. You can't take everything
Right.
into consideration at the same time, right? And I think that's what happened with Cilpen. Like, we first focused on just general waste management, right? And then as we were doing a good job in waste management and serving our community, then the hospital waste thing came into consideration. Then industrial waste came into consideration. Then recycling, and so on and so forth. So maybe just focus on something you know you're good at and become better at it, right?
Thank you for the tips.
Yeah.
And a lot of young people nowadays are kind of concerned of their future path because there's so much anxiety. They don't know which path they should take.
Yeah.
And as you said, Cilpen started off as one thing, and then they gradually built up to what it is today. It's such an expensive organization. So along the way, what are the challenges have you felt lost, and how did you conquer that?
Yeah, well, money is always a problem. Financing is always really hard, and I think that the fact that we're in Colombia, and the networking we can create around this is totally important. Because if it wasn't for networking, if it wasn't for our connections with people, and people actually like putting their faith in me, then this project wouldn't be successful. Like, financing is needed for a lot of ideas, a lot of projects, and obviously it goes back to becoming a niche market as well. Because if you start small, then it's easier to prove your idea.
Yes.
But if you want to tackle a big idea, then it's harder to get everything right. Everything's harder. So that could be also an interesting advice. Just network a lot, find like-minded people, and leverage that. Like, leverage those people, leverage the fact that they have connections to other people. And if you have a good idea, try and bring people to your group, because you can't do things alone. Like, you need a good group. You need people that are motivated with you, that have your same ideals, and to move forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, like speaking from a startup perspective, and I guess a lot of young people out there have the same concern because they just want to start from scratch, but they don't know how. They don't know how to build network. They probably lack, the resources. So, do you have any messages to the concerning young people out there to maybe like cheer them up and maybe like indicate there are chances and there are possibilities?
Yeah, you're not the only person struggling. Struggle is for everyone, and obviously sometimes you're like, wow, I'm so tired, or I'm struggling, or I can't find a break. But as I said before, like, there'll always be speed bumps on the road, and you have to persevere. You have to keep going forward, and you'll get the yes. You'll get that yes that you're looking for if you're focused on your idea, and and you think your idea is good. Just keep following it. Keep following your heart, and working hard.
Definitely.
Yeah, hard work actually pays off. So if you don't work hard and you think, oh, my idea is somewhat good, bad ideas that from people that work hard are much more prominent than good ideas that from people that don't work hard.
Yeah.
So, and that's because people work hard. If they get received a no from the financing, they go to another person to finance, or they go to another person, until they get the yes. So,
absolutely, absolutely. I think perseverance is a trait that everybody should have. There are many setbacks that can put us down, but we cannot just stop here and give up. There's always some light in front of us, and your story is definitely going to light up the fire in a lot of young people who are trying to make a change. And so I think we can maybe like wrap up. Do you have any like information you want to share, like some great announcements? What's the next step for Cilpen Global in your mind?
Well, yeah. So Cilpen, again, is a waste management and recycling company, and what we're trying to do is try to find the solution for 100% of the waste. Mm-hmm. So waste is made up of a lot of different stuff: organics, plastics, metals, paper. So each one of it has its own solution. Mm. And what we're planning to do now, and I think this is probably very interesting, is we're trying to build a database, informational database on what we find in Santiago and the surrounding cities, the characteristics of the waste we find, and then potential solutions. Mm-hmm. Or maybe give that database to people, mm-hmm, so they can bring out solutions for us. Yeah. And we will help them. We will help them by financing it, by promoting their ideas and more, because we think, again, the youth is a driver of change. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just building that database out and probably giving it out to all these universities we have connections with and alliances with, and maybe through you and through Love and Future, we might get some good ideas as well.
Definitely, because for me, I am in Teachers College. I'm an international education background, and I think that having information database and having a good curriculum, having a public-facing, say, resource or a kind of like education session, it would be really meaningful, because as you mentioned beforehand, people don't have access to information. They are not so informed or educated in terms of waste management, and that's why there are so many problems out there. So if we can bridge this gap, we can establish a link within this awareness building. I think that a lot of work would be easier, and then we could probably move towards our end goal more easily and faster. So thank you so much for your time, and it's a really inspirational interview, and I hope that Cilpen Global can really be a more global, enter the global stage.
Thank you. Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.